Welcome, everyone. We're Mav Sports Take here, episode 26, your weekly podcast for sports, business, and much more. 2020, 2021, we have had a lot of folks having to be creative to make ends meet, but here tonight we are going to interview an innovator and a longtime NFL quarterback, Josh Johnson. Josh will be on with us in a few minutes. He has now worked with 15 NFL teams and or NFL players to launch the Ultimate Gaming League, which is a developmental league for gamers who are trying to break into the professional gaming ranks to come and hone their skills while gaining some followers and earning some cash along the way. That is going to be our first take. Until Josh is with us tonight, we're going to talk about, of course, today started the 2021 Senior Bowl, Reese's Senior Bowl. And we got some practice time today, obviously, but we really want to get into some of the measurables. I feel like measurements are thrown out there a lot, but why are there thresholds? What thresholds are we trying to hit at each position? We're going to hit on some of the guys that really stood out to us. Of course, I am Ryan Roberts, joined by David Turner. David, it's always fun, Senior Bowl week, right? This is like one of the weeks of the year in the scouting world, in the NFL draft world that I get super excited about. Little different this year, though. How are we feeling about this start to Senior Bowl week, and how weird does it feel just knowing that like there's limited attendance? This is the only major draft event during the season with the combine being canceled. Like, what is the general feeling around the Senior Bowl this year for you?
You know, not being down there is weird for me because, you know, I got to stay home with the ankle. I can't get down there and do everything. But what's really crazy is that when I looked at the stands on NFL Network and on the practice film, it was like empty. You know, it was just like nobody was there. It was so strange because you're used to seeing packed house college football, you know, elites down there like Nick Saban and you know, you would imagine like Urban Meyer and all them would have been down there. And it's just kind of crazy that when you look in the stands, it's just like nobody there. It's an empty stadium. You know, you don't see friends and stuff walking around, and I don't know. We'll see how practice film comes in and how the week goes along. And with weather today, I know it threw a little monkey wrench into, I think, the second practice toward the end of it. So, you know, we'll see how that they handle and adjust to all that. But kudos to Jim Nagy for getting it off and getting it running. And, you know, everybody and all the kids down there that tested negative and everything for COVID walking in the door, you know, kudos to them to being committed to the process and showing their maturity to be ready for the opportunity and not walking in and flunking a COVID test or something and doing something that would jeopardize this chance for them. So I want to give kudos to them right off the bat. And then, you know, as you talked about, getting some of these measurables today and starting to digest the numbers, as I like to call it, it's been kind of a fun day for me to see all that.
Absolutely. And I know we are very interactive here at Mav Sports Takes. So we have some viewers in here right now. We are live now on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So send questions through the channel. We would love to answer anything and everything. We know that there is a lot of uncertainty now. And what makes this so cool with the Senior Bowl week still happening is the draft process is a big resume builder, right? Like you're trying to mark off as many boxes. You're trying to get that experience list as long as possible. And we have a limited opportunity for a lot of kids this year. So we're really excited to talk Senior Bowl. Thank you all for joining us, especially our live participants on here. And before we do, I want to just remind you, Maverick Sports Consulting, we would like to ask you to follow, subscribe, and take the chance to interact with us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and other social media platforms. We are a company that is all about helping maximize your opportunities in front of you and your career. The only way we can support you is if we hear from you. Your takeaway from tonight's show should be that if you're interested with us, we will find a way to help you in your career path. Reach out, and we could do a Mav episode of your topic, or we could circle back with you to help you with some individualized attention. Don't wait. Reach out today at Mav_sports on Twitter and on all social media platforms. Of course, we are powered here from the NFL Draft Bible side of everything. I'm the director of scouting for people that don't know. For the NFL Draft Bible side of everything, we are powered by Sports Illustrated. Top left-hand corner of this video, right-hand corner if you are watching the video. I just realized that because I don't have good directions. So, powered by Sports Illustrated, and we are excited to get into some of these measurables before we get Mr. Josh Johnson on tonight to talk about his business venture. So, David, Some of these are crazy. How we want to do this is we're just going to work through some measurables that stood out for us, what to make of them, what thresholds we're trying to hit, a lot of great stuff. And we really just want to make sense of the landscape this year. And a shout out to Alex Ghostrap, who was in the chat with us. Alex, what up, my man? If you've had a chance to look at the measurements, biggest winner today. I think there's a lot of winners, Alex, and we're going to get to a few of them. Guy that is actually a good friend of the show. I actually shot him a message, David, yesterday before the festivities today, just wishing him luck, represent Northern Iowa. Of course, I'm talking about Spencer Brown, offensive tackle. Wanted to kick it off with him because he's been a guy that, as you know, and everybody knows, I've been hyping up for a while now. I'm a big believer in the young man.
You got the fan card. You might even have the president's fan card, even above his mother.
And I'm going to hold that, man. I'm going to hold it because I'm telling you, my man weighed in today. If you haven't checked him out, check out Northern Iowa from last year. 6084 for you all. That's to the eighth of an inch. So it's 6'8" and 4/8. So 6'8.5". 314 pounds. He also had an 82 and 3/8 inch wingspan. 34-inch arms is solid. Not as high as I actually thought. I thought it was going to be closer to 35, but then he had 10 and 3/8 inch hands. So we are looking at that height is well above the threshold. Those hands are very massive. David, let's talk about how impressive this young man is on the hoof. Obviously, that height is the thing that I think is going to stand out for most people.
Yeah, the height's definitely going to pop people's eyeballs out, looking like a cartoon figure where they're going to come out of the socket and go, what? But don't underestimate that 82-inch, wingspan, too. That's pretty dang impressive. And, with 314 pounds, I'm sure he probably looks slender. But with 6'8", you can put a little weight on him. Obviously, there's enough weight to be put on that frame, being 6'8". Big paws at 10 and 3/8 hand, and again, you got those 34-inch arms to go along with that long body. So, for a scout, when you see this, you really want to digest this film. And the biggest, you want to give him his kudos, but the biggest two question marks that would come to my mind are pad level and anchor. So, how is he going to handle this week? Is he going to pop straight up with his pad level? Or is he going to be able to sink his hips and keep a good pad level, not only in pass blocking, but in run blocking, being so tall and angular? Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is, when he does get a power rush, will he be able to sit down in a chair and stifle it? And, or is he going to be so tall he's giving up inside position and, not able to bend, as we talked about all the way through Friday Night Scout School? Is he not going to have that bend to anchor and stifle a pass rusher? And it will be great because there's some great pass rushers in this game that we'll see, and there's a few power rushers that we'll see in this game to test him. So he has a chance that not only did his measurables catch the attention, but now he can come out and show the tools in this game to answer these questions on the one-on-ones and throughout the week in practice.
Yeah, and I will say about Spencer, he's been working out in San Fran actually with Dylan Radins and Joe Staley out west. So he's been working with obviously a great offensive lineman. And good segue here, David. I'm the best at segues. We actually have Josh Johnson popping on with us now, who is a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers of the National Football League. He played college football at San Diego and was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 5th round of the 2008 NFL draft. He has played for 16 professional football teams across 4 leagues during his professional career. So he has seen the game of football from multiple angles. But tonight we're going to take it from a different angle. We're going to be talking with him about him being one of the founding investors in the Ultimate Gaming League. Josh, welcoming you to the show, man. We appreciate you. First time on Mav Sports Takes. How's everything going for you, man?
It's going well, fellas. Just finished working out, getting this off season. Well, not off season. Getting ready for the season, I should say. Getting it going. And, doing UGL stuff during the day. Got a pretty busy schedule. So just happy to be here. Thanks for, guys inviting me on the show. And looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And Josh, I think that's a perfect way to get into it. You're talking about, how you're already preparing for the UGL, the Ultimate Gaming League. So take us through, just for the general people that might not have too much information about it. What is this project exactly, and where did this passion to develop this project kind of come from for you?
Well, the passion came since I was born, man. I've been playing video games since Atari. Like, I've grown with it. My mom worked at Toys R Us, so I had that luxury of always being ahead of the curve. She got discounts on all the games because she had such a long time with the company until they actually went bankrupt and closed the one out here in Oakland that she worked at. And so that pretty much has been a long time passion, but it was always just consumer habits. And as the gaming industry has evolved, I've always been with it, and things that people would make fun of me for, bringing my PlayStation on the road and looking for Wi-Fi and hooking it up to every hotel I go to and playing the video game whenever we traveling instead of want to go outside sometimes and party and have a good time. Now that's kind of like the norm. So this is like the way of the world for me. But actually, just take that same, like, as I got in the NFL, one thing that was big for me was just doing things off the field that I have a true passion for, just like football, things that I wake up without an alarm clock for, things that I actually, what I'll invest my time, do the good and the bad for, just like football. So end up finding my partners, Brad and Chuck. They both from Oakland. They reached out to me by throwing, in-person tournaments, and we started that at a local bar for adults called Halftime Sports Bar. And then for the youth, we partnered with Soldier Town, which is like a local mega gymnasium, and we would have a youth lounge. And once COVID happened, all that had to transition to online. And so we naturally transitioned to online. And we would throw our pros versus Joes tournaments, one-off events, and we did like digital hangouts with people in the music industry. And then from there, we found a few partners through our agency, created this concept with franchises and having a esports league, but we're really not esports because we can't really be on the level that those guys do it because we don't have the time, or the bandwidth to really sit there and crack the AI and defeat the game like the professionals do. So we created a lifestyle concept, which is pretty much what the UGL is, and we'll have the league, and then we'll also produce a lot of content for everyone involved, even the people who are actually not players in the league. So that's pretty much what our models are focused on: the competition as well as a good time, which for most of us who was born in the 80s, that's what gaming was. It was a good time. Like, we competed, but it was also a good time. So we're just trying to make it all one big happy time. Like, same way as going to a football game. Not everybody is a crazy fan. Some people just want to be there to drink beer and listen to the music and see the halftime show. So, like, we're gonna try to involve all those elements into one. And I'm just happy to be a part of this process and have the guys that's partnered up with us.
Now, talking about that, Josh, I mean, I'm not an 80s baby. I'm a 70s guy, so I'm a little bit more patina on me. And Ryan, he's on the other end. He's like in the 90s, so he's got the other
91,
side.
91, yep.
We got a mix. We got a mix.
Yeah, we got a mix. We got 3 decades covered here.
Yeah.
But I grew up again when, like you said, Atari was Space Invaders and stuff, and Pac-Man and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I got it. And then I was into the first Maddens and all that stuff. I grew up with all that, and I was really interested this year on one of our takes. One of our episodes, we had the Y2K Warriors head coach and one of their star players on to talk about how it's just blown up, and especially in the COVID area, the fandism has just gotten really incredibly, dedicated to them because a lot of people are at home and having to find ways to do things from home.
Right.
But how easy was it to get other players and partners of yours and folks from the league invested in this project once you started rolling and attracting more investors here?
Just from the standpoint of our credit to our team of being real organized and really going through a lot of great R&D, a lot of hours of just finding out the right way that makes sense to what we do and our fans and people that come from the football community. But it was really just finding the guys that have a similar passion. And with the guys that we have, all these guys have the same similar passion because they understand, that right now it won't be what it'll be in the next few years if we all stay dedicated to the process. And it's real similar for us because we do this for football. Like, it's real similar what we do for football. We invest a lot of time. Most people invest 18 years. I mean, not 18 years. Some people play from 6 to 18 where you have to pay to play. And then you go to college where you obviously now you're getting a free education, and then you have the opportunity to get paid. So when you find guys that are like-minded, that process was easy. The organizing of it was a long process, but that's like any startup. But I mean, where we are now, we're in a good position to really, take this thing to another level.
And Josh, so the large scope of it, because you talked about you can't really compete with the professional guys because that's like all they do, right? Like you're the lifestyle look, you have the outlook that way. What is the growth potential for it, and what are there some goals, longer term goals that you have to kind of forecast to how big this potentially could get?
I mean, the growth potential is tremendous because I mean, everyone involved has their own brand. They've built, being a part of NFL, you naturally have the ability to establish your own brand, and then by doing things organically, people connect with that, and if they see that you have a true passion for it. So, I mean, on the esports side, I would say the league side is really us being owners and kind of playing the role that the owners play for us in the National Football League, and really sharing that opportunity with people who are influencers or up and coming gamers or up and coming streamers, and really creating a platform for them to go out there and showcase their skills, and we celebrate that. And then we share whatever comes in together, however that works. And then the same thing on the content side. All of us, most players, that's what we naturally do. We use our influence to create content. We influence people who follow us to read books, go out and serve your community, let them know about different products. So it's just really, that's kind of what this whole streaming gaming world is kind of what I see out on the lifestyle side. It's like a new form of media and connecting with your audience, and it's real time. It's not like something where even for us as players where they got to watch us in the stadium or whatnot and don't really get to really get to engage us. But like being in Discord, you could do so much in the Discord world where you could really engage with people, and just having that experience. I think that within itself is going to be a unique experience, not for us, but just the fans alike. And then with our motto, it just won't be football players. Like we just the founding fathers of this, but like for us to really find more diversity, to get when we open up new franchises and have women involved, or younger girls, and have gamers, real professional gamers involved, and get people from other genres, whether it be basketball or music, or just, that's to me the long-term vision that makes it really even more scalable, because like gaming, you don't have to retire. Professional athletes, we eventually got to retire, but you don't got to retire from gaming.
Father Time catches up with all the athletes is what Willie Brown used to say. Willie Brown used to say.
What about arthritis? That might slow you down a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I've heard people, talk about that, but there's elements where we as football players, I mean, that's like recovery from a game. You get the tendonitis and things, but you know how to roll that out. You know how to do the little hand exercises, the little stretches, all those little things that we learn in football. Me being a quarterback, especially because I'm a thrower, I do the same thing when I game. Because like if I'm in the lab grinding for, sometimes in the off season you have one of those long days where you be playing for 15 plus hours. You got to stretch it out. You got to roll it out, and go see a chiropractor. But these are the things as players we could teach the gaming community. Like we have to balance lifestyle and gaming. Having a healthy lifestyle, fitness, like that's big for me. And also being a parent, that's what I'm trying to, encourage more parents to understand, that there's a lot more that can go in this than just kids, than your kid just yelling at the game. Like now, hell, your kid can get a scholarship for this. Your kid can start their own business. They can have a career off this. To me, that's no different than you investing in them to play AAU sports. It's just providing the right resources, providing the right partners, and creating that environment that, encompasses all these possibilities. So I think we naturally as football players already have to do that, and we share that, but we haven't really shared that yet in the gaming side. So that's what we bring to the table.
You know what I love about that, Josh? It's like you just said it, like when you've been playing video games since you were a little kid, like this isn't something that's just proprietary to younger kids, right? Like I mean, I would love to play some video games, older people love to play some video games. Like this kind of, I think, really can strike a good moment for a lot of people, just from like even older crowd. Like it's a nostalgia, right? Like you're thinking back to when you played, and then you're also appealing to younger kids. So I feel like it hits kind of every age group a little bit,
Oh no, for sure. It's the one industry that, I mean, football does a great job of that. And you see how they just added the Nickelodeon broadcast. That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was awesome. It was spot on. But like that was the first time that I got all my kids to engage with football the way that they did that day. But with gaming, outside of my 3-year-old, now my 3-year-old wants to play the Astro game on PS5 all day long. He loves that game. But like my 12-year-old and my 9-year-old, the best times we have with each other is on the party, playing 2K, playing. They love Fortnite too, which I got to play sometimes. Not big on Fortnite that shit.
Yeah, I'm not on big on Fortnite either. My older kids like that, and I'm like, nah, let's do Mario Kart. Like let's get into Mario Kart. I could do that one
for sure. Like we got the Nintendo Cube for the Mario Kart though. They like that. But like for me, I think like the only problem with Fortnite is simple. Like I'm like GoldenEye. That was like the best shooter. You could come right back after you die. Like this whole wait for 10 minutes watching everybody play. I ain't grasped that concept. Like I didn't want to join the military. I wanted to play the video game where I could run around and shoot. I don't want to like have to wait and watch everybody else and hide in the mountains and snipe all day. I want to run around and shoot them up, bang bang. That's what the game is for.
I hear you on that. I feel you. Now with the UGL, what's the upcoming schedule that people out there, our listeners, should be investing in and knowing, putting on their calendars? I think you have like some kind of tryouts and different things going on right now.
Yeah, we had the qualifiers going on right now. I think round 2 just started. I believe last night, and no, I'm sorry, this morning. My bad. I'm not head of gaming ops. There's a lot going on, but pretty much the qualifiers are Swiss style tournaments over the four games we're starting the seasons off with. 2K, Madden, FIFA, and COD, and pretty much just recruited people who gave anybody the opportunity, even younger kids with parents' approval, to come compete. Win some HyperX product, win a potential cash prize, and how it works is we'll have a leaderboard, and after all the rounds, we'll have the leaders, the franchise owners will get the leaderboards, and once we do our draft, we'll start picking people from the draft, and we even may. Because it's still growing, we don't want to not shut anybody out. We'll probably do like an undrafted free agent type pool for people who want to get in on the last minute. And you can find gems in the undrafted free agent pool. And so like that's pretty much what we're doing right now. We'll have the draft and we'll kick the season off. And then the owners themselves, we do what we call team streams where we come on. We get together, once a month as the whole team. Then the guys stream on their own. And then also we'll be a part of the UGL, produce content that surrounds the league. And then they can always get in whenever they want to and do whatever they want with their team. So there's opportunities for the guys to be owners, and there's opportunity for the guys to really get in and get dirty on the game. So that's the uniqueness about how we structured it. And most of the guys, they enjoy it right now.
Well, you've talked about other owners and stuff. Who are some? I know when we did our research, getting ready for this segment, we saw that there were like 15 NFL players that are owners and taking advantage of this opportunity. Who are some of the other owners, and what was their motivation to become owners in this league?
Ocho Cinco, Marshawn, Marcus Peters, Max Crosby, Sidney Jones, Preston Williams, Avante Maddox, Rashad Higgins, Josh Jacobs, Kenny Clark, Darius Slade, Desmond King. We have one gamer on our team because he's from Oakland, and our team is pretty much Oakland based right now. Bam Samuels, Bam Schemey, big Madden player, made all the way to the Madden MCS finals or quarterfinals, I believe. And I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. I don't know if I named everybody, but I think I may have or may not. But we live anyway. So if I did miss anybody, sorry about that. But you can always go on UGO World and find all the players. And really the motivation was these guys game. Like a couple of these guys participated in our Pros vs. Joes events. Obviously, Marcus and Marshawn is my cousins. Bam is a Madden player. A couple of guys participated in our Call of Duty deathmatch we just had in December. And they just have a genuine passion for this. So it's just, we built something together that has some structure, that has some understanding and respectability that we are still football players first. And that is our main priority. But it's also giving a platform and opportunity to a lot of other people that may not have that, and maybe they may not be the best gamer, but you don't have to be where we're doing it. You can just come in and get down and see where it takes you. And if you might be a great content creator, you might be a great host. We don't really know, but this gives everyone that opportunity to kind of find their niche in this space. And that's just really what football does. Like a lot of people play football and then they pivot to other careers that help represent the game. Like what you guys are doing is another version of a part of the career that people can pivot easily off to. Trainers. So it's just the same thing to me. I kind of conceptualize it all the same, honestly.
Absolutely. And Josh, I was honestly pretty impressed with just naming all those names off the top of your head, man. I could not do that. I applaud you for that.
It's funny. I got a connection to Josh here that he doesn't even know about. But when Marcus was coming out of college, he was going through his draft prep. I was the guy who did his draft prep for him to help him with answering all those questions about what happened at Washington and everything.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was his guy because I was a personnel guy in the league forever, and then he needed some help on that. So I sat with him while he was at XO's training and did his draft prep, interview prep stuff for him. So.
Oh, so you got him right. You got him right there.
I just tried to teach him that he wasn't Marshawn, and so some of the answers he wanted weren't really going to work for him.
Oh yeah, Marcus want to keep it real.
Yeah, we let him tell his story real, but tempered.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's all. I loved him. I was honestly, once we got past and we found that connection, because I'm from the Bay too.
Which part?
Concord. I grew up, went to De La Salle, and graduated from San Francisco.
You went to the Big Fish.
I'm 5'4", so I didn't really play. I was on the team, but I was just on the team. So.
Oh no, so you get it, man. But no, I'm genuinely happy for Mark, man. Like just to see his growth and everything, and he does not get the respect that he deserves. But I think that's just because he's too raw, Oakland. Everybody can't really handle that unless you're from the Bay. You got to understand it to really get it. But at the end of the day, like I always tell him, man, when it's all said and done, your numbers going to speak for themselves. And they just keep stacking up these interceptions. So,
and the playoffs were amazing for him too.
Oh yeah. So he's just running his race. He's exceeded like our expectations by far. Just signed a huge contract, which I'm happy for him and his family. Just everything that he had to overcome to really get to that point. And he's with a perfect organization. Me playing for Jim and then going to John for a little bit. I'm like a second adopted son of the Harbaugh family, so I think he fits in well with them. So
he does, and Wink he fits right with Wink and Wink's personality, and and that whole Wink and I were in Oakland together at the Raiders, so knowing that he was there is just it's perfect, like you said.
Perfect for him.
Yeah,
things happen for a reason, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and like you said, the numbers speak for themselves. I'm pretty sure he's up to like 40 interceptions regular season.
He's not done
already. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's still a younger guy, so I mean, he's got a ton more time. I kind of want to steer us back, Josh, because we want to get you out of here in a second. I want to just kind of, for the people out there that are just finding about the UGL League for the first time and want to get involved in some capacity, whether that is as a player or whatever it is, just a spectator, like how do they get involved? Where are they going to sign up? How often are signups? Like, what does that process look like?
The recruitment, because we have a tech partner called Arthritis, and pretty much they recruit the army of influencers. And you can go to uglworld.com, and that'll pretty much, you'll see all four of the franchises there. All four of the franchises have their own separate web pages, but UGL World centralizes everything. And then obviously you can follow UGL World on Instagram or Twitter and even Facebook, but Instagram probably be the best platform right now to get all the information you need. And then the four franchises are DeFam Gaming, Four Brothers Glitch Gaming, and they spell it GLITXH. And then it's Ocho Cinco Gaming or OG Gaming. And so you can follow any of those platforms, and it'll pretty much direct you to everywhere you need to. The community is living on Discord. As we speak, I keep getting all these notifications from these notifiers right now, from these qualifiers. But everyone's welcome. Just come in, get in. I see people when I pop in on the Discord just teaming up to play the games. We've had a community night. We've had people just share their streams. You know, they just became affiliate. They're looking for more people to follow them. I followed a few people. So we're just building like a nucleus, and then just hoping to grow it out. There's no limitations on it. Just come in and be respectful, have a good time, you know, and come be a part of what we got going.
Now, I know you have a charity that's out there in the Bay and different things. We want to give you, your time to talk about whatever you want to at this part in the show. Bring it to the table and let our viewers know how what Josh Johnston's up to outside of football and outside of the UGL. What are some other things that you bring to the community and that there's a focus of you in your life?
Well, Fam First Family Foundation, I would like to say that's like our baby. That's what helped us become men. And it started with Marshawn just wanted to throw a football camp. And none of us looked at it as like we were role models. We were just kids from Oakland that we felt like got lucky and we made it through the cracks. Because, I mean, we didn't ever feel like we were the best players, but we were just the ones that stayed, focused through all these different tests that Oakland would throw at you, trying to make it out. And so that was our way of kind of bringing our community and giving back. And then, we saw the impact we would have on younger kids and even adults just coming together at that point in time of 2007 and then from there, it evolved. It evolved to us throwing football camps in Seattle, to Hawaii, to Ottawa, Canada, to London, to Australia, to Brazil. Now in Oakland, we have a youth center, and anybody can be a part of our youth center. If you have a kid that want to pick up different trades, we have an architect program, we have a youth of business program, we have a music program, we have a coding program, we have a cooking class. Obviously, we do physical ed. Right now, we have to kind of do it remotely, which I think sucks because all the kids they on Zoom all day, so we got to kind of find that balance there. But we got to be able to do something. But looking forward to just having a youth center. We do a summer program that's free for all our kids. I mean, parents just have to donate snacks. We take them camping. We take them on field trips every Friday. We partner with different bus companies around the Bay Area, and we pretty much that's the foundation of what we do with everything. Like, we realize we don't really know, especially when you come from where we come from, you don't really know what you're capable of until you know what it takes to get there. And so for us, it's trying to really provide those resources as much as we can, from whatever it be, an endorsement deal or just a conversation, to be able to share that with our community and just really empower people to say, if you actually take on these different trades, who knows what you can make in your life? Because that's really what we did. We just try to take that hustle, that passion, that grit that Oakland teach you, and just really use that stuff towards positive things, and just encourage that to everybody, whether you're black, white, brown, whoever you look like. As long as you about that action, like Sean say, you come tap in with us, and there's a place for you. And that's really the same thing that UGL is. Beast Mode, the clothing line, represents that. I have the Family First clothing line, which I partner with Family First Milano. So those are pretty much my three, ventures outside of football. And they all have the same mottos, though. How can we, do good business and put people on in the process? Show people different things about themselves that they may not have knew they had a strength in, and really just allow everyone to grow together. And so far, it's been working for us. So we're just going to keep going with this motto and see what happens.
Well, I think that's a great way to end this interview. Josh, we really appreciate you again so much for taking some time with us again. We got Mr. Josh Johnson, who's professional quarterback and founding investor of the Ultimate Gaming League. I would applaud you all to go take a look at some of the stuff that Josh is doing behind the scenes, off the football field. Outstanding stuff. We really appreciate you for taking some time with us tonight, Josh.
All right, fellas. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. We'll see you soon, buddy.
All right, y'all take care.
You too. Well, David, that was fantastic, man. That was cool, man. That was really cool. I like that how it wasn't like the gaming side of everything, the Ultimate Gaming League. That's awesome. Like, when I was doing my research for it, I was like, this is really cool stuff. The founding investors he has, the 15 NFL players, like former NFL players that they have heading this league, that's awesome stuff. But just hearing the brotherhood and the kind of the reason why this is a thing, it's not just business. Like, there is so many good reasons why he is doing so many of the things that he is off the fields.
Yes, and anybody who knows his cousins, they're all cut from a similar cloth, and that's why it works too that they partner and do things together. Because coming from Oakland, where they come from, they like you said, there's not a lot of positive people there, or circumstances, I should say. There's great people, but there's not a lot of positive circumstances. So for them to be giving back this way and doing it in this manner, and trying, like you heard his youth center, it's not only coding and technical stuff, but it's cooking classes to eat more nutritionally, sound. It's different ways to give back to the community in whatever way the community wants to receive it. It's not like they're dictating to them one way, which is sports only, but it's food, it's coding, it's architecture and trades, and all sorts of things that I was like, okay, if you want an art class, they would go do an art class. If you want to do a dancing class, I'm sure these guys would find a way for it to be a dance class there. So, again, it's just the way they're wired, and I've known the family for a while. It's been great, and having Josh on is just great to see him do all this stuff and contribute back to the communities while still trying to play football and still trying to do these outside ventures. That 20 minutes or so, whatever he gave us tonight, was very kind, very, very friendly of him to be on for us. So thank you, Josh, again. Thank you, Lisa and Keon, for putting it together and getting them on for us, because we really appreciate y'all for pulling that off for us.
Absolutely. And if you are listening to us live and you just popped in here, we're recapping our interview with Josh Johnson. So you should check out any podcast platform that you have and Mav Sports Take. Check it out. It's awesome stuff. Shout out to Dan Cassidy in the chat with us. Pretty cool stuff. Interesting dude. Appreciate you, Dan, for always supporting and being with us. Really do appreciate it. So we want to kind of pivot back to the measurables that really stood out to us at the Senior Bowl weigh-in today. Before we do, we want to let you know Maverick Sports Consulting is here to help organizations build the best teams available to them. We consult not just sports organizations, but also colleges, private businesses, and organizations that would like an expert in the area of team building. Mavericks is happy to help you build up a team around you that will support a strong culture of growth around your idea and products. We would like to put our 19 years of experience of team and culture building to use for you and your company today. Don't wait. Sign up today at mavericksportsconsulting.com. So, David, want to move on. We talked about Spencer Brown earlier in the show. Want to keep it to the offensive line family here. Deontay Brown. So, one thing that I think we need to talk about is sometimes guys impress, right? And you look at him on the hoof and you're like, wow, this is a great beginning of the week. That guy looks the part. And then there's some times where you see some of these measurements or some of the body types and you're like, why? And it makes you a little worried.
Why?
It makes you a little worried, to be honest.
Why? I like how that came out. Why?
Well, I mean, I don't want to ding Deontay because Deontay is a good football player from Alabama. Just had a tremendous career. But my man showed up today, 6'0", 3'2", so 6'3" and 2/8 inches. Had 32 and 3/8 inch arms. He's an interior offensive lineman, so we're not worrying as much about arm length. 80 and 6/8 inch wingspan. My man showed up, David, at 364 pounds. And I know it went viral during the playoff run there, right? Where they said he looked like Blastoise from Pokemon, right? Just like all shell, big dude. David, you have to look at me because I'm showing you what he looked like. You're not looking at it. So, went viral. I have to tell you, though, there is, and this is seriousness for a second, okay? It's funny, but this is serious. Why are you 364? Why? You don't need to be 364. There's no reason for him to be 364 pounds. It's not
only 6'3".
What are you saying?
Well, I'm saying he's only 6'3".
Right.
So I mean, it's not like you're 6'8", like we were talking about. Spencer Brown, who could 360 might have been able to have the frame to distribute that across the frame. But this guy is only, right? He's only 6'3" and 360. So it's like, wow, man, that's a lot of weight on a shorter dude.
Yes.
So I mean, you're not even 6'4", 6'5", you're 6'3", and you're carrying a lot of weight.
We're going to talk about somebody that's similar size, but they're like 4 inches taller. Why are you 364 pounds, man? I don't think it's good, David, because honestly, on his film, I'm like, laterally doesn't look great. Second level doesn't always get there. Like, he is a super physical dude. He can combo pretty well. He is in a dry block situation. Like, he can overwhelm dudes. But what is 364 doing for you? Like,
Nothing.
why aren't you 340 or 345? Like, why aren't you?
And again, you're seeing a guy whose wingspan is under 81 for an offensive lineman. That's a little on the shorter end for sure. And 32 and 3/8 arm is, again, shorter for any interior lineman. It's pretty good for a center at 6'3". Like, if he was 6'3" and 330 and 32-inch arms and 9 and an 8 hand like he has, that actually is pretty good measurements for a center. But for a guard, you want to be in the 320, 330, max out 340 range. So this is a player, like you said, you got to come in and, like, what have you been doing since the game all season? And also, how motivated are you to get to the 330 mark? But this is where the NFL Combine actually hurts a player like this, because with an NFL Combine, he could go into Senior Bowl week, and 6 weeks from now might be Combine, and he would be told, hey, you need to lose some weight. We need to see by Combine, and then by your pro day, having 2 more weigh-ins, you being motivated to lose the weight, so then we can draft you. And a kid would be able to go to Combine, drop 10 or 12 pounds, and then go to his pro day and drop another 10 or 12 pounds. And now he would be down in the 340 mark and showing teams, okay, you had a problem at Senior Bowl with my weight. I've lost 20, 30 pounds now, in a couple months, which for a big dude is, a BMI. That's something he can do. And you could say, hey, I've lost the weight. I'm serious about playing football at the next level. But without an NFL Combine and not knowing what the pro day circuit's going to look like, this hurts him with his ability to show he's got the ability or the wherewithal to lose the weight and be committed to becoming a better football player with that.
And that's a great point, because Solomon Kinley, who is a starting guard now for the Miami Dolphins, was a rookie this year. He was early on in the draft process last year. He was up around 360, I was told by his agent. Okay. And by the Combine, he was down to 337. So that's what you're kind of talking about, that progression to get down in weight. And that shows, like, hey, something clicked. Maybe it took his agent getting on his butt, or it took somebody else to get on his butt and advise, or whatever it is. But eventually it clicked with him, and he's like, you know what? I need to do this.
Well, the agent probably told him, and then the NFL guys at games like this or all-star games or in the process said, hey, man, you're just too heavy. We don't play with linemen you're that heavy, and you're going to, you're going to lose our interest, whatever team that is, or other interests of players and schemes like us, if you can't lose the weight. Because even the great, Larry Allen, who was an incredible offensive lineman and one of the bigger guys I've ever watched play as a guard, he was maxed out at 340. I don't think I ever saw Larry over 340. You know what I mean? So again, it's just a situation where this year's process will limit players like this to improve their draft stock solely because they don't have the chance to weigh in 3-4 times for NFL teams.
And it's also so many great points. And I will say also the last part of this, and I'm not trying to, because Deontay Brown has some talent. Like, he really does. I'm not trying to say that he's like this hopeless guy. It just was not a good weigh-in today. I will say he's a gap power guard right now, and that's all he is. Because you're looking at a league now that has gone so heavy into inside and outside zone, they're going to look at him and be like, you're a power only guard? Like, you're a gap power only guy? Like, that's all you can do? Like, we don't do that. A lot of teams don't do that anymore, at this point. So just, Deontay, let's get it down, brother. Let's get it down. You can play. Let's get it down. Let's get it down. Next guy I want to talk about, the adverse 354-pound Ben Cleveland from Georgia, who weighed in, David, at 6'6" and 3/8 and 33-inch arms. So not terrible arm length for an interior offensive lineman. 354 pounds. I will say this, folks. There is a picture that's circulating on Twitter again. It circulated on Twitter before the season started.
Of course it did. You're a Twitterverse guy.
My man is gigantic. If you have ever seen Game of Thrones and you've seen The Mountain, this boy is the Mountain. Like, he is going to be an actor after his play career is over. And This is going to sound weird, but I like to look at him.
Okay.
It's a good looking prospect, man.
Listen. I say go unmuzzled, but let's not get it weird, okay? Let's not make it weird. I'm all about getting unmuzzled, but let's not get it weird here. But no, I mean, it's always weird with us. Don't worry about it. But no, I mean, I haven't seen the photo like you did. But again, like just a guy ago, we talked about having the frame to fill out 350. Well, here's a guy who's 3 inches and 1/8 taller, and he's taken the 350 mark to a very muscular level. So a question that he'll have to answer, like the first guy, right? The first guy we said, is he tall enough? Can he anchor? This guy, because he is so muscled up, will be, can he move? Is he stiff? Is he rigid? Can he have ability to adjust in the space to hit moving targets? Is he able, or is he too muscled up, too tight because of all that muscle to really be effective at his position? So that's what I love about Senior Bowl week and measurements. People are like, what's he talking about? This is the stuff I'm talking about. It's like you get the measurements, you digest the numbers, and then you have questions. Okay, well, he looked fantastic today on the hoof. He looked, like you said, the mountain from GOT, and you're just like, let's see what he can do on the field. Is he a guy who looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane, or is he a guy who's just too robotic once he's out on the field? Let's see what he looks like. And, again, this kid, he's all muscled up. He looks fantastic. First guy you want coming off the bus, right? And now if he steps on the field and he backs that up with ability to play his position with skill and bend and anchor and movement skills, now you're improving your draft stock today and this week. And you're climbing. You're one of those risers. You're rising up draft boards. But, it all starts with the weigh-in. What did you look like? How serious have you taken the end of the season till now to become a professional football player? No longer on scholarship kids. Like you heard Josh Johnson talk about, the evolution of, paying to play as a young kid to going to high school and then going to college and getting a scholarship, and now moving from that into being a professional. Is how seriously are you taking it early in your career, which is right now. Your career has started. How early in your career are you taking this serious to get ready for these opportunities? And the Senior Bowl is one of the biggest opportunities they can have this early in their career.
Mm-hmm. And David, just for you, I put into our private chat the picture if you want to go look at it. So,
oh, good God, you are so you make it so strange.
What's not strange is looking at Felipe Franks throw a football and looking at him.
And it had to be him. It had to be him swim in a swimsuit too. Come on, man.
He's with a pretty girl though, so it's fine.
I didn't see that part. I just saw him.
I might have cropped her out.
And it doesn't matter who he's with. It's just that you had him in a swimsuit. So yeah, and you had it cropped where she was knocked out. I think you had yourself superimposed next to him or something. But in your 919 gear that you got yesterday. But
I got the other shirt on in right now.
I'm sure you never have your map stuff on, but you have 919 on all the time. So
it's in the hamper, So
yeah, every week it's in the hamper. So it's hilarious.
My wife's pregnant. It's a little backed up right now, the laundry. So
hey, today's Tuesday. Come on, let's go. Pop that bubble. Let's get it going. I have today in the pool. Let's go.
Unless something happens in the next couple hours here, David, I think you might be losing that.
Tell her to start doing jumping jacks. Get it on. Let's go.
Okay. All right.
I ain't got time for this.
Funny enough, Felipe Franks, quarterback from Arkansas, actually has the same exact height as Ben Cleveland. He measured in at 6'6" and 3/8, also 234 pounds, and this is no typo, an 83-inch wingspan. What the 33 and 6/8 arms. And a 10-inch hand. So this dude is long. he's got like defensive end measurements almost. Like he is long, dude.
Yeah, this is like, who's the quarterback that now transferred to tight end? Logan. He was out of Virginia Tech or something a few years ago.
Logan
now he's
Thomas.
on. Logan. If Felipe can't make it as a quarterback, here's your next Logan Thomas right here. Yeah,
it's so funny, dude. I'm watching, and great point. The first thing I said before me and David started the show was he said, oh, that might be too long of arms. And he does have a long release. So that makes sense. But my man does have a cannon for an arm. So,
Well, Logan had a cannon too. But again, when you're going into measurements, because of the way defensive ends come in to rush and offensive linemen block them upfield, you don't want to have that ball exposed outside the body frame too far, so guys can't swipe at it and create fumbles when they're going around the hoop, going around the edge, right? So for a guy like this, a question he'll be answering in this coming week is, has he shortened up his release? Has he able to bring it in some, so at the next level you don't expose the ball to get tipped out of his hand and it becomes a fumble, and he can do more with his skill set. I mean, a 10-inch hand's great, obviously, to whip it and get velocity. That's awesome. It's that arm length that and being 6'6", being so tall, those two things. I did a study for Mr. Davis one time about quarterbacks over 6'5" making and winning Super Bowls versus quarterbacks under 6'5", and the shocking thing to me was, at that time, over 88% of quarterbacks that won the Super Bowl were under 6'5". They were in the 6'4", 6'3" and 3/8 range to 6'4" and 7/8 range. And only a handful were over 6'5". So it was something that I didn't know before he had me do the study, but that's when we were getting ready to draft Jamarcus Russell. And so this is another situation where you got a quarterback who's very tall and very long-armed, and how is he going to do it? The questions he can answer this week is if he shortened up his release point and his footwork is sound.
And so you're not a big fan of any Dan McGuire's or Brock Osweiler's, then, huh? No 6'8" quarterbacks.
Not really. No, not that. They wouldn't be on my draft board. That's for sure.
Well, they shouldn't have been on anybody's draft board, which is why you made a great point, David. Kudos to you. Moving on to the next one. David said I put this in the doc, and David was like, "This is the perfect size across the board for a running back." So Najee Harris,
this is ideal. Yeah,
6'1" and 7/8", 230 pounds. 81-inch wingspan, 33 and 3/8 inch arms, and 10-foot hands. David,
10-foot hands
is a 10-foot 10-foot hand. Yes, biggest hands in history. 10-inch hands. Najee Harris, man, checking boxes.
Every box. Like, you want to go back and compare him to Adrian Peterson coming out. I think Adrian Peterson was a little lighter. He was about 225, 222. And I mean, his arms were only 32 somethings, not 33s. And the hands were right about the same. So, I mean, this is a guy who ideal numbers all the way up and down, checking all the boxes, as Ryan just said. And in a situation like this, you're just going, wow. Like, now all you need to know is what's that 40? Is it a 4.47? Is it a 4.50? What's that 40? And then the boxes are checked and it's done. Like, just take it home, take it to the house, as they would say. You're going to get your bag and it's going to be full. So,
yep. Next one we want to highlight is one that I knew was kind of coming, not to this degree, but I knew it was coming. Wyatt Hubert, who is a defensive end out of Kansas State, a guy that I liked his film a little bit, man. He plays with an outstanding motor, great leverage. Like, there's a lot to like about Wyatt Hubert. He plays with his hair on fire, and he has just that hand usage at the top of the arc to, even though he doesn't have the greatest bend in the world. We talked about my bias, right, towards these guys, these technicians at defensive end that maybe don't have the traits. But you don't want to talk about not having the traits. So the height isn't great, 6'2" and 6'8", 265. He's rocked up. He's got 10 and an 1/8 inch hands, so he's got bigger hands. Here is the troublesome part, okay? This is a guy that's not going to play in space. This is a true defensive end in a 4-man front. 30-inch arms and only a 77-inch wingspan. 30-inch arms, David. God, it broke my heart. I knew it was coming, but it still broke my heart. 30-inch arms. That is, I think that the one kicker from Miami, Borregales, almost had longer arms than he did. So,
here's another guy. The measurements aren't going to be favorable because he's a true defensive end and he's under 6'3", right? He's 265. So, for a Gettleman quote here, he's squatty. He's squatty because he's short and he's thick. And then the 30-inch arms is just such a detriment, and the 77-inch wingspan is a detriment to him. Though the hands are huge, this is a kid that, I'll be honest, like, some teams might look at him this week at fullback because those measurements are better for a fullback and catching the ball out of the backfield and being a downhill slammer, somebody who's going to come downhill and open up some gaps for people versus being a guy that can rush the passer on the other end. Because you would imagine a guy like this would be good on special teams. Maybe if he is a fullback, then he can transition to playing defensive end if you get a pinch, or put him in a package where you need an extra rusher or something. So, this could be a very versatile player if he can make the adjustment over. Now, I know some people are going to get in the chat and start blowing me up like, you're already trying to position move this kid. Well, the numbers are telling me he might need a position move to have a career more so than anything right now, because I can't recall any defensive end ever that I've scouted in 18 years having 30-inch arms. Like, I just can't. I've seen shorter ones, I've seen thicker ones, but those 30-inch arms are just, I've seen plenty of fullbacks, but I cannot remember a defensive end with 30-inch arms.
So my follow-up question would be this. Is there any chance that maybe a team says, hopefully we can slap a bunch more weight on him and move him inside as an interior situational rusher? Is that
no?
Possible?
Because it's 30-inch arms.
Either way, even if he's going against guards and centers.
No, because even a good guard, a starting guard, and a starting center are going to be about 33-inch or 32-inch arms. So they're going to win that. They're going to win that battle with, getting the arms. And again, even if he has hand violence and he has some quickness inside, he would lose more matchups than anything because of that. And that's why I'm saying to him, if they're listening, if you're out there and you're hearing me, you might want to just take a couple reps at fullback and just show versatility and be on special teams. So a team kind of like the New England Patriots might be like, you know what, I'm gonna take this kid maybe in the 5th, 6th round, bring him in and see if his versatility is something I can maximize in our scheme of defense and offense.
Maybe not Joe Klecko. Joe Klecko was the Giants, right? Dan Klecko?
Dan Klecko.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. That vein. He played defensive line and then he moved over to fullback. He was kind of all over the place. So that's
right. And that's the same mold here. Yeah. Same mold here.
So I think it's important to note, because I know people are listening out here and they're saying, why is arm length so, like, who cares? Right? Like, why does that matter? Right? Playing defensive line. So especially playing defensive end, working against offensive tackles specifically, what do all those dudes have, man? They have some long arms. If they get inside on your chest, there is almost no chance for you to recover. When you have some length to those arms, you have some length to yourself, you have the ability to recover. You have the ability to get inside on offensive tackles. Those guys are going to be able to lock you out in a split second. You're not going to be able to gain any leverage on them at all. And that's just kind of why the shorter arms hurt you so much.
Well, yeah, and like Ryan was saying, at 33, you don't see tackles with 32-inch arms. They're usually 33 to 35-inch arms.
Right.
We even talked about the Northern Iowa Spencer Brown earlier, who has 34-inch arms. The Georgia Cleveland, Ben Cleveland, 33-inch arms. So, these guys have 3 to 4 inches on you. And now you're trying to combat that. It's going to take incredible hand violence to knock those levers down and then get around them. It's just a lot of work, and the advantage is there for the offense with those long arms.
A lot of levers. I like that. A lot of levers. I will say the one good thing about Wyatt Hubert, he's going to go to there's not a combine. He's going to go to his pro day, and he's going to put up like 1,000,000 reps on the bench because he's got those short arms, baby. He's going to knock them out.
Fullback, baby. That's perfect for the fullback.
Got to see what happens with Wyatt Hubert. I do like his film, though, man. It's a lot of fun. We'll see if it translates, though. Probably not. Kentucky center Drake Jackson, another guy I knew was going to measure in small. 6'1", 6'1" and 7'8", 6'0", 1'7", 290 pounds, only 77 and 4/8 inch wingspan, 31 and 1/8 inch arms. He's a shorter guy, but the number that popped out to me, and this was a weird one. I've never really talked about this with David, so I wanted to put this out on you. 8 4/8 inch hands, so 8.5 inch hands as a center. Those are tiny hands for a young man that is snapping all the time. Does that affect you? Like, are you thinking that? Like, is that bad? Is that like not a big deal? Like, I've never talked about that before. Like the hand size for a center snapping the football, you know?
Yeah, 8.5 inch hands are tiny. And again, I'm a 5'4" guy, but my hand measures out 9 even. So this guy's hand's even shorter, smaller than mine by a half inch. And he's a lot taller than I am. And that's a small hand. Like any way about it, it was one of the measurements that popped out today because that is a small hand. And for a center, you think about, people coming in on wet, having to snap a wet ball or snowy, icy, slick ball. You don't want that small. You can use gloves, you can do things to combat it, but it's one that I think a lot of people will take a look at. They'll look back in his career. This is something that might not be solved this week for him, but it'll cause people to go back, offensive line coaches and scouts to go back in his career to watch his snaps and see how many of them floated on him, got away from him. And they'll be like, with those small hands, these are indicators that this might happen. So let me go back and see if it has happened in his career. Let's grind that film out and do it that way. So, again, these measurements lead to questions. Those questions either can be solved and answered this week in his play, or you have to go back and do more film work. I think this is an indicator they have to really go watch some film on him to make sure that what they're seeing in measurements don't affect his ability to snap the ball.
Yep. And I'm thinking bad weather games too. Like that popped in my head. Like that's
exactly.
Some bad moments. Want to shout out to everybody real quick that's in the chat. We were getting through a couple more measurements here, and then we're going to try to get to a couple questions. Rick said Marshawn, also a head coach in the Fan Control Football League. That's awesome, Rick. Thank you for popping that little note there from our interview with Josh Johnson earlier in the show. Mike helped us out with the Logan Thomas was the reference that you were trying to make. And then we have Cookie by Nature asked, have we started the Q&A? So we're going to get some questions at the end. If you have questions that you want to throw in during this little segment that we're doing now, though, please feel free to throw in at any time. We'll try to answer a couple questions as we can. We appreciate you all so much. We're more than an hour in, and we have like 30 people in here right now in the live. So we appreciate you sticking out with us because me and David talk. Well, David talks a lot. I just kind of listen. But, yes. Next person. Guy, I'm a big fan of David. I'm telling you, I talked to the pro liaison from Boston College before the year. Didn't know who Hunter Long was, tight end for Boston College. And he's like, we went through all the offensive linemen they have, talented football players. And then we're like, anybody we should keep an eye on. This is me and Rick talking to him, right? For NFL Draft Bible. And they're like, oh yeah, Hunter Long, tight end. He's going to be a first-round pick when he comes out. I'm like, huh. Okay. Obviously, you're a little biased, pro liaison. It's cool, though. I dig it, man. So he came in here, had a dynamic season, obviously. All-American by some accounts, was an All-ACC first-teamer, absolutely dominant football player this year. Came in 6'5" and 1/8", 254 pounds, checking boxes, 33 and 6/8 inch arms, and an 83-inch wingspan. So, David, why this excites me so much, this guy is we talk about how guys win and how it translates. My dude, Hunter Long, he wins in the air. And, hey, what does he have? Catch radius, baby. Catch radius. Yeah. He can win above the rim. That is his game. And what he has, arm length, height, size, that translates to how he wins will be successful translating to the NFL.
And also those 83-inch, wingspan, like you said, is catch radius, but also that indicates a pretty big back. So, people will have to fight through him. And like I have to call it the box out technique when you get down by the goal line, something that obviously Gronkowski was great at, was using his width to make it where a safety would have to get through him to get to the ball. So, that often causes PIs, gets you a quick first down and more cracks at the goal line, stuff like that. So when I saw that and correlated it to his arm length, I'm like, wow, this guy's probably a pretty thick guy. and it'll, with his box out technique and rebound and ability down in the red zone, or even on a third down, it makes him a very viable target for quarterbacks, and something that'd be really cool to watch him. And again, this week we'll see how he does with these top-notch quarterbacks and these top-notch safeties and linebackers down at the Senior Bowl, how he uses these traits, these physical traits, to win in one-on-ones and the 7-on-7 and the skellies and stuff down there. The only box I wish he had a little bit bigger hand, 9 3/4 hands, is not small. But again, if he would have reached that 10 or that 10 1/8 mark there, then all those boxes would be positives.
Nope, absolutely. Yep, it would have added, definitely. I'm still impressed by the measurement overall. And one guy that you said, like, hey, how are some of these tight ends going to match up to these safeties? I'll give you a safety right now, okay? This is like when you talk about the ability to negate a tight end. Like, who are you putting on Travis Kelce one-on-one? Who are you putting on George Kittle? Well, it might be Mr. Hamson Nasseruddin from Florida State, who measured in at 6'3" and 1/8. So he is a long dude, 213 pounds. I think his weight's a little down from what he actually played at. He played around 220 to my understanding. 82 and 6/8 inch wingspan, 34 and 2/8 inch arms, and 10 foot. I almost said 10 inch hands. So this guy is a super huge safety. This is a long dude. This is the guy for me, David. Like, again, creating matchups. I'm trying to put this dude on some tight ends, and that's my negator. That's the guy that tries to take the Travis Kelce's, although that never happens, but tries to slow them down or take them out of the football game. Like, that's that type of player for me.
Well, yeah, this guy's got the height, arm length, hands. I mean, wingspan, everything you're looking for. And even at 213 pounds, he's got plenty of girth to match up with a guy. He's not going to get pushed off his spot easily. You're not talking about 185-pound safety here. This is 213, 215. I mean, that's a sizable guy. And his height and his ability to reach again, we just talked about the Boston College tight end having 33 and 3/4 arm. Well, here's a guy who has 34.5 inch arms. So even when they're going up for those jump balls, those contested balls in the end zone and stuff, you got a guy here now that can go up just as high, just as eloquently, and slap it out of there, and knock it down and be a guy who can defend those jump balls in those situations. So I think your comparison was perfect right there about being a negator. So he could go right in and, obviously combat those big tight ends, taller receivers with his size. He matches up perfectly with them.
And to put it into perspective, we said, hey, Spencer Brown's tall. He checked the box, 34-inch arms. That is your prototype offensive tackle. 34 plus is awesome stuff, right? Like, even 33 and some change is good enough, but 34 plus is awesome. My man has longer arms than Spencer Brown, and my man also has 3/8 inch longer wingspan than Spencer Brown, a 6'8" offensive tackle. To put that into perspective, this dude, that is some length, man. So
yeah, this is some rare length. This is some rare length for a safety.
Yep, absolutely. Rare length is the best way to put it. Shout out to Rick. He says, look forward to DT Senior Bowl coverage on Sports Illustrated Giant Country this week. So, David,
I will be with Patricia this week covering Senior Bowl information and recapping all the week's action from practices, measurables, and things on Sports Illustrated's own Giants Country this week. So thank you, Rick. That is a plug. And Patricia, I look forward to sitting and talking with you again some more this week on that. We did our first preview show, came out yesterday, and then we've just been waiting for the film to come in so we can digest it and get on and do another one either today or tomorrow morning.
Yep, and I need to take a listen. I haven't taken a listen to, but I'm very much looking forward to that. Hearing some of David's terrible takes during the week, it just gets me through a week. So can't wait for that. Thank you, Rick, obviously, for taking some time. We appreciate it. Staying with Florida State here. Staying with Florida State. See, this is how you stop you from coming back at me because I keep talking so you can't interrupt me.
Well, it's the only time you'll give Florida any kind of credit because you hate Florida. You hate Florida schools anyway. So.
Oh, well, I mean, did you see Florida State play football this year? It's kind of easy to hate. 6'5", Janarius Robinson, 6'5" even, defensive end, 266 pounds. 87-inch wingspan, 35 and 6/8 inch arms, and 11-inch hands. Now, David, I saw this measurement. I wasn't super surprised because when you watch my man on film, like he's one of those guys that they're, his hands are below his knees, like he's one of those dudes hanging by his side. Like you see it. He's an impressive looking player. I will say this, not to discount what the great measurements that he had on the football field, not quite as impressive. Just leave it at that.
Yeah, well, again, I watched a little bit of Florida State this year. I watched more Florida and more Miami games. Those were two teams that I really felt interested in this season and watch a lot of their game film, as you know.
You don't like defense. David Turner does not like defense here on the Mav Sports Take.
Yeah, okay. Anybody who follows me knows better and knows that this guy is a perpetual and habitual liar. But take Friday Night Scout School and we'll talk about defensive ends and how fast I got on all of that. But that being said, this you want to talk about rare ideal measurables. I mean, you're looking at a guy who's 6'5", almost 270, 87-inch arms or wingspan, almost 36-inch arms and 11 hand. I mean, these are all rare. We just talked about how 2 guys ago, the tight end checked, 4 of the 5 boxes. Well, this guy checks every box across and not only like just checks it, but he gets A+ across the board. So, this is a guy, again, you hope that he translates to the field as good as he looks. According to Ryan, he doesn't. We'll see this week, because here's a situation where, again, a guy like this, if he goes out and has a good Senior Bowl week, and then if there was a combine or if Florida State is going to have a pro day for their players, then you would have a situation where he can look good athletically in drills, have a good Senior Bowl week, and it gives him a chance to rise his stock up the draft boards. Some defensive end coaches would be like, and see defensive coordinators would be like, yeah, this is a guy I could work with. He's got a lot of raw material here. Let's put him in our scheme. And in our scheme, he'll look better,
Yep. I mean, he looks the part. I'm sure he's going to be tested pretty well in a straight line. My man is just stiff. So, yeah, just putting that out there.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's a situation where it's going to be a lot of fun to see him perform this week and over this draft cycle. And again, his opportunity is going to be a lot less than others because of this COVID shortened draft cycle.
So before we start the show, last minute, David threw someone onto the sheet. So David, let's let you intro the last guy I want to talk about before we hit a couple questions here. Last guy.
Sure, this Georgia tight end, Trey McKinney. I mean, you want to talk about checking boxes. I think as a tight end, this kid's 6'4", 247 pounds, 32 and a fourth arm and 11 hand. When I saw that 11 hand for a tight end, like we just talked about, your guy from Boston College, this is a guy who, again, has these big mitts, catching a ball in contested situations, very strong hands. He'll be able to clutch onto it, and even when safeties are on top of him and trying to bat it away, he'll be able to clutch onto it, squeeze the ball, and make those tough catches. I saw him in some film this year, and was able to sit and watch him a little bit, and I was like, wow, I wonder what he's going to measure out at. And then when I saw his measurements today, I was like, this is a kid that I think he has an arrow up for me with his measurements and how he played it at Georgia. So I'm interested to see how he looks against these other players this week at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and Trey McKinney is a really interesting player because he was actually a transfer this past year from Florida State to Georgia. Very talented kid, athletic, obviously has some measurables there to work with. He's been really underutilized through most of his career. So I think that this all-star opportunity is going to be big for him to see what maybe the upside is, what the ceiling is for a player like this, and see how much more we can get out of it. Because obviously, judging by some of these numbers, he has the toolbox to work with. He's a nice athlete. He has effort as a blocker. He just has not been utilized much, no volume as a pass catcher. So look forward to seeing what Trey McKinney does down at the Senior Bowl. Wanted to answer maybe just one or two questions before we get out of here. So, David, we had somebody, Mark Jarvis, shout out to Mark Jarvis at What's on Draft NFL, asked, what are the biggest differences in evaluating linebackers for the NFL compared to the CFL? Like, what are some of the differences in how you evaluate them?
So
I would imagine, not to cut you off. I would imagine that the size would not be quite as big of a thing for CFL because we're one a little rangier with the larger field. Am I right? Going in the right spot there?
Well, it depends on what it's going to depend on what linebacker position. So for the middle linebacker, you can have a guy who's a little bit shorter and play between the tackles, read, react, and fill holes and be your like kind of run defending linebacker. And then your will and your outside linebackers have to be able to cover, have to be rangy, have to be able to, because the field is longer, wider and longer, and you have so many guys in motion and everything, they have to be able to cover ground quickly in order to defend a lot of passing. It's only a 3-down league. So, first downs have to come after, down 2 or you're punting on 3rd down. So there's just a lot of differences there. So for if you're looking at, this is a situation where in the league, an outside linebacker might look more like a safety, an added DB, a safety. So, a little bit taller, like a 6'1" DB that can play in the box, but also cover. Your will linebacker might be a 5'11", really fast, rangy guy. And then your middle linebacker might be a 6 foot, 230 pound, kind of player. So in the NFL, the middle linebacker for the CFL's middle linebacker, Mike, might translate to a will linebacker in the NFL. The will linebacker from the CFL might translate better to a safety or some kind of purely special teams player. I hate to say it for the NFL. And then your outside linebacker would be a safety style in the NFL. So, it's just kind of a different traits because of the field size, because of the kind of way they play football, because of all the motions and the way the game's played. The little nuances translate each position a little different.
Yep, absolutely. Great question there, Mark. Just kind of a little insight there into someone that's been across a couple leagues. So a couple questions, want to bang out real quick and then maybe end with one more. Charles Stoller asks, I was watching some Ian Book film. I cover Notre Dame for Locked On Podcast Network, so let's go with this one. I only seen bits and pieces from him now. What am I watching more? Getting Case Keenum vibes. What do you think? So I'll say this, Charles. If you want a more in-depth Ian Book breakdown as a prospect, I would check out today's podcast. Again, Locked On Irish on the Locked On Podcast Network. I will say I applaud Ian Book for everything that he did during his career at Notre Dame. 30 wins as a starting quarterback. Was an excellent college quarterback. Absolutely. Did some good stuff. He's a good improviser. He's a tough kid. He's not an NFL quarterback. I don't think he's going to last. Giving him a Case Keenum designation is saying that he might be able to start in some spot duties. I don't think that's him. I think maybe he would resemble more of a Trace McSorley that came out of Penn State a couple years ago, or a Shea Patterson that came out of Michigan. I just don't. I think that his traits are not great. I don't think that he has a ton of upside. I think his floor isn't even as high as some people act like it is, just because I think there's some extreme limitations. So out on Ian Book. Sorry, I apologize to all Notre Dame fans.
I know, but Ian, if I remember correctly, I'm looking through the sheet really quick.
6 foot even. 6 foot even.
He was only 6 foot even, but I was looking for the rest of his measurables.
It was like 6 foot, around 210. He had his 9 6/8 inch hands or something like that, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah. So here it is. Yeah. So he's 6 foot even, 210 pounds, 31 and 4th arm, and 9 7/8 hand. So he's got the hand size and arm length isn't terrible, but that 6 foot even. I mean, you're in 210. You're looking at like Drew Brees type measurements here, and again, the Drew Brees numbers are not coming with him. The Drew Brees skill set is not coming with him. So it's going to be very hard. I think there'll be some CFL teams that might put this guy on their neg list because, he can run with the ball in his hands. He can sling it a little bit. But again, he's a guy that I was surprised he was 6 foot. I really thought he was going to measure in around 6'1". Just from watching him at Notre Dame and standing next to some of the other players, I thought he'd be make it to the 6'1" mark. So when he was 6 foot even, that surprised me a little bit in today's measurements.
Yeah, and I mean, Notre Dame fans came at me because I actually said that a few weeks ago, David. I said he's a CFL quarterback. There's nothing wrong with that. People think that like it's so much disrespect. Like
it's where Jeff Garcia started. Warren Moon played up there. Steve Young. I mean, so many players played up, in different alternative leagues. Even the head coaching candidate for the, Houston Texans, Josh McCown, played in the UFL for us at the Hartford Colonial. So, players take different paths, but they're still successful.
Absolutely. And hey, how many professional quarterbacks are there? So to call yourself one is a big accomplishment. There's nothing wrong with being a CFL kid. That's what I think he is. And there's nothing wrong with that. So
nope, nothing wrong at all.
So people stop getting panties in a bunch. All right. It'll be okay. Last question. Georgia Sports Hospitality Media asked me a question. He said, what's your view on reaches, especially if you're taking a top 15 player? And I asked for them to be a little more specific. They said most people say anything but a quarterback would be a reach at the 4th pick. Say the Falcons take someone like Parsons or Satan. What's your view on teams taking players like that, even though they don't fit other values? So they're talking about positional value, David. So it's a loaded question. I will say there's different philosophies. I'm always in favor of taking the best player possible. But at the end of the day, like sometimes you're going to take a quarterback in the top 10 that is not necessarily on a raw board, the 10th best player in the draft, right? But when you take into account how important that position is, then it's worth being a top 10 pick. So I don't have any issue with it personally.
Yeah, again, there's overdrafting and then there's, positional drafting. We did a whole class on valuing draft picks and stuff on Friday Night Scout School. Ryan and I did this a few weeks ago. And one thing that we try to teach everybody in the class was that, if you're in a situation where it's a very light draft class at a certain position, whether that's quarterback, pass rusher, or whatever, the gap between players is huge, and you need to address that going forward. You might have to take that position around higher, because if you lose that one player that you feel is close to that mark, but then if you don't get him, the bottom falls out of that position where the next guy is like down in the 5th round. Now you're saying, well, we're going to either take a 5th round pick on this guy, or we're going to take a flyer at this guy, in this realm. And I know I'm making dramatic gaps here, but it's true. Sometimes they do fall out that way, where you don't have any 3rd round corners, or you don't have any really good 4th round pass rushers. So you're in the 3rd round and you're at the top end of it, but all your pass rushers left are bottom end of the 3rd round. So you're like, man, I don't want to waste this 10th overall pick in the 3rd round on the pass rusher. But if I don't, the next best guy's in the 5th round. And, because these 3 guys aren't going to make it to the 5th round or even the 4th round by our pick in the 4th round. So those are the conversations going on in the room about where and how and why to take a guy.
Absolutely. Yep. And there's a lot of layers to it. I feel like we could do a podcast just on that and cite some examples. Maybe we'll do that in the future. Yeah. We want to wrap this show up, though, and say thank you to everybody that stuck with us this whole time. This was a fun show. This was a real joy to do. We had Josh Johnson on, professional quarterback who's been across a few different leagues, been in the NFL for a long time now, on the beginning of the show to talk to us about his gaming league that he is one of the founders of. So if you missed that in the beginning, if you're live with us right now, I would go back again on any podcast platform and take a listen to that. A lot of fun to go through some of these measurables from the 2021 Reese's Senior Bowl that we were blessed with this morning, being able to make some sense of it and really get ready for an awesome week down in Mobile, to be able to just watch and see what transpires and how these young men take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of them. Of course, I am Ryan Roberts, David Turner. We want to thank you all so much. If you're watching with us on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, thank you so much for joining along. Thank the questions. Sorry we couldn't get to every mailbag question tonight, but we tried to hit on a couple there at the end. Appreciate you all every week for getting us some mailbag questions. One thing that I need to plea with you, not plea, that sounds desperate. I don't want to sound desperate. I would like to ask for you on Apple Podcasts or on Twitter, wherever you want to do. Throw us a review. Say Ryan and David are the best duo in podcast history. We would love it. Give us a 5-star review. We would absolutely love it. We appreciate you so much. Following us on all social media. We have Mav_sports for David, is of course, at MaverickSportsConsulting.com. NFL Draft Bible is an awesome resource that you should take a look at, especially during Senior Bowl week. I am at Rise and Draft on Twitter. I'm going to let David Turner get the final word, man. My outro is almost done. David, what do we want to leave the people with?
I just want to say thank you to everybody and the support. Obviously, week in and week out has been phenomenal. And then, right now with where we're at as a country, as a society, as a people, let's just, my whole thing is let's start opening up our ears, listening more. Silence and listen are same letters, just in different order. And there's a reason for that, guys and gals. So, pay attention, listen to more people. Don't try to talk over them. Don't try to talk through them like Ryan does all the time to me here on the podcast, but rather, show your patience and your persistence and your personality to be, someone that really wants to learn from each other and not just dictate it all the time. So for me, I just want to leave everybody with that message and say thank you again for a great show, Ryan. Josh, thank you for coming on, and everybody who made this show possible. I appreciate you all.
Yep, David had to get a late dig there, but again, follow us.
I can barely get a word in there.
Oh yeah. You have a hard time getting words in. All right, so give us a share, give us a review. Appreciate the ratings. Follow us again on Twitter and all social medias at Rise and Draft, at Mav_sports. This is Mav Sports Take, episode 26. See you all again, same time next week.